Hi, and welcome to the DIY Photo Organising Podcast, focusing on topics to help you with your photo management. I am Chantal from Photos in Order.
And I'm Fiona from Photo Helper. Hey Chantal, how's it going?
Hi Fiona, very good, lovely day today.
Oh, it is indeed. And we've got a great topic to talk about today. I'm looking forward to this one. So today we are asking the question of each other, and also we're extending this out to our lovely listeners. The question is, which 100 photos would you choose to document your life? I think this is a really interesting topic because, gosh, we can take 100 photos in the click of a few buttons, really. It doesn't take much to take 100 photos these days. But if we're looking at really narrowing that down to meaningful, impactful photos that just capture a whole range of areas in our life, which 100 photos would you choose? So we thought in this topic today we would just talk about some of the ones that we personally would choose, some maybe topics that you could think about that you might like to choose, and then we've got a few little ideas and suggestions about what you could do with them at the end of this episode. So let's dive in and have a chat. As we do in these podcasts. It's just the two of us really in our lounge room, but at these days it's not in the same lounge room.
Oh, yeah.
Having a chat about photos, but and we love to invite you into our conversations. All right. One of the first ones. Where would you start, Chantal, with looking at this topic?
Yeah, that's a good question. Where do you even start?
I know.
And also, of course, our life's not finished, so
exactly.
we can't choose 100 yet. We need to leave a bit of space for what's to come.
Well, that's a good question, actually. You could choose 100 and then just each extra year you put some in, some drop out.
Yeah. There's an idea.
Yeah, there you go. That's a concept.
So instinctively, I would probably, because I'm someone who thinks in chronological terms a lot of the times, I would probably just simply start with my childhood.
Yep.
And go and pick a few. I shouldn't say a few, because if we only have 100 in the end, I can't choose too many. So, but 1-2 photos of my childhood that that I just simply love the photo, or that would just transport me back to a moment that I remember and that's precious to me. That's probably where I'd start and have a think about that. And luckily, I'm a child of the 69, right? There you go, you've got my age now. But we didn't take as many photos then as we do now. So that sort of makes it possibly a little bit easier. And half the photos that I have from my childhood are actually blurry or, out of they're not great photos, which, as you know, is not a reason why they have to go. They can be very precious still. But luckily there's not 5,000 to choose from. How about you? What about you?
Look, I would probably start with thinking about my relationships, my close relationships across my life, and look at the connections in those photos. I think that's probably where I would start. I would probably write down a list of the people that I absolutely would want in my 100 photos.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and just make sure that that within that 100 photos I've captured the photos that would reflect that relationship. Because I've got some very, very precious relationships, and one in particular that is my longest standing friend. We're still extremely close to this day, and that's 42 years later. Actually, it's more than that now. Uh-oh, I am getting older. It's 44 years, actually. No, 45 years.
Oh,
Oh my goodness. Anyway, it is 45 years of friendship, and closer and closer every year. It's amazing. So that friendship obviously has expanded over, 45 years. But and I've got newer friendships with people and older friendships. And so I would look at my relationships over the years, and that would be probably where I would start and make sure, I've got enough or some photos of all of these people, because they are really, really important relationships. Yeah.
Hey, there's an idea. We could cheat a bit. So once we're out of lockdown, if that ever happens, you arrange a party with all those people and you take a group photo. So that's a bit of cheating.
There you go. That is a good way to capture that. That's true. Although, okay, so saying that, now I know I'm jumping around a bit, but when I look at relationships, I'm thinking of the relationships with my grandparents, because I had a beautiful relationship. I had a lot more to do with my mum's side of the family and my grandparents. And those relationships, I'm thinking of a particular, like even if I'm standing in the kitchen of my grandparents' house, one photo could capture really a whole range of memories about that time, and just the layout of the house and what was on the walls, and it just evokes a real emotion to just that one photo. So it might even be a photo of the room. It may not, like one of my 100 might be, a location like that.
Yes.
That can really bring back a lot of those meaningful memories that I would want to capture.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's, I've got the same. So it's just, how do we put that? It's really that one photo that can trigger all those different memories and the feelings at the time, and it just bring back. I remember when I did that course with Katie about how to write down or jot down, as she says, stories. She calls it if you get the fuzzies.
Yes.
That's the one. That's what we are after. That photo that represents all that and gives you the fuzzies. And exactly. I do have photos like that as well. And for other people, they would seem completely meaningless and like, why on earth would you keep that? But that's why, as photo organisers, we can't choose the photos you should throw out or keep, because we don't know that meaning behind them.
That's right. That's it. And at the end of the day, what are we keeping all these photos for?
Yes.
It really is. I mean, my sort of motto with my business and my life is to live, capture, and remember. And I really, this is this remembering part of that I'm so involved with when I'm working with people with photos, because what's the point otherwise? We want to be able to enjoy and remember them, but those real special moments. And so so what are the topics, what other sort of photos groups or thoughts of this 100 would you consider?
What you said obviously are relationships, but that also sort of ties in with, maybe not so much, I'm not sure, ancestry. Like people that I would definitely add a couple of photos of people that I actually never knew, because they passed way long before I was born. And what you just said before with remembering, I sometimes have to explain to people that some would say, like, but you're constantly living in the past, and I'm not. That's not what it's about. It's the remembering, but for me also, especially with ancestry that I have never met or known, these are my roots. Without them, I wouldn't be here. So that's where I see it's so important for me. obviously I would still have a happy life if I didn't know who they've been or not even their names. But still, I find it's an important, for me personally, it is important to have that and to know it, because it sorts of, I feel it's like grounding almost, and it's belonging. It's like, okay, without them, I wouldn't be here, and they all
Mm.
had their own stories, and hence, because that's where I come from, it also is part of my story. You know
Yeah,
what I
and I
mean?
also, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and I think it also brings back this sort of topic of gratitude.
Hmm.
You're grateful for, when you can look back on some of those older ancestral sort of photos or
Hmm.
genealogy of different, important people or influential people that have impacted others within your family,
Hmm.
and it may have instilled certain type of values that have been
Hmm.
passed down through your own
Yes.
family that you then take on. And I think it's being able to be grateful for the type of things that they've gone through,
Hmm.
and being able to appreciate that's been gone before, that's been left
Mm.
behind, that we can carry on. I think there's a lot to be taken from those types of photos, and it may only be one or two within your
Hmm.
100 that you might like
Yeah.
to add in there. But that's good.
There might not
I would
even
also,
be more, because, at the time, like I'm thinking 1900, 1910,
if you've
or
got
even
any,
earlier, you might
yeah.
not have any. Yeah.
Yep, yep, that's
Yeah.
right. And maybe it is a photo of some kind of a family tree that's been done where you don't have
Yes.
anybody, you don't have the actual photo, but you might have the history of the dates or something like that.
Yes.
And that might be
Yeah.
something that you could include in your
Hmm.
100. Mm.
So what else?
I, I would include my beautiful family pet that I had when I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. So we had a collie, and border
uh,
collie, and she was my everything when I was a
yeah.
kid. I loved
Yeah.
her. So
Yeah.
great memories
Yeah.
of that. So family pets would be something to consider as well.
Definitely. I'd also
Hmm.
add houses I
Yep.
lived in. Maybe not all of that. Well, I didn't actually move that often, but definitely the house I grew up in, because that
Yep.
has that whole history. And I mean, I lived in that house from the age of about 4 till I moved out um, at 20 or something. And also, Mum has sold the house in the meantime, so it is important. So I would definitely
Yep.
add a photo of that. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yep, me too, for sure. And I think houses. And this sort of comes back to when I was talking about my grandparents' place, like the kitchen or something like
Mm.
that, where, I remember playing shops. Like my Nana would be cooking and something, and she'd have all the tins lined up, and I would say, okay, what would you like to buy at the shop today? And I'd be on the other side of the counter,
Mm.
and she'd give me some pretend something as money, and I'd give her a tin of beans or something. But just that one photo of the kitchen would, it can
Yes,
bring back those
yes,
memories, and jotting down those types of stories, I think,
yeah, yeah.
to do with the memories of the photos is really important.
Mm.
So along with the houses that you were talking about, and that
Mm-hmm.
obviously coming into where you grew up or where you did spend time,
Mm.
it could also be a location. It might not be a house. It might be a lake
Yeah.
that you'd go to. For us, we used to go and do caravanning. We used to
Mm-hmm.
caravan a fair bit when I was a kid. So a place that we would go down to in Victoria, and it was a particular caravan park, and I would
Mm.
include something like that, because there were a number of years in a row that we went there, and the riding of our bikes around the caravan park, when it was dusk, or the barbecues outside, or the annex that
Yeah.
you'd have coming off the caravan or something, and playing games and cards and
That's so
family board
funny.
games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a similar thing and that's what I would include. I can actually see the photo I would include. Um, it's a huge tent that my mom, she was sewing two tents together to make one big one. And
Oh,
of
well.
course, at the time, the tents were not what they today, so they were leaking, and my parents were very keen kayakers, so the canoeing was a huge theme in my childhood and youth, and we tended to go to those for holidays to those places along the river where they could use the kayaks and stuff, and it always rained. And those
Oh.
those handmade sort of put together
Oh.
tents, they were of course leaking. So yeah, but we always tested it out at home, so we put it up in our garden to see, everything's
Oh, that's
here and it
great.
works. And we were sleeping out there for a couple of nights before we actually went on holiday, sort of like trial run or something. And I've got a photo of that. And that one photo represents all those memories for
Yeah,
those
it's
childhood
perfect.
holidays. And
Yeah.
isn't it that amazing?
It is. It is. And
Mm.
it's the joy about even just talking about this as
I
we
know.
are, that it brings it back. And that is, it's so worthwhile doing something like this. And I really encourage people that are listening,
Mm.
if things are coming up as you're listening to us talking, jot them down. Think
Yes.
about, oh, what is that photo? Where would I find that photo? Or, start to sort of get those ideas that as they come up. I think
Mm.
it's really they're precious, and
Mm.
yeah, they're a source of strength, I think,
Yes.
of joy. And one of the things I was going to say next, actually, is sometimes these photos, in if you're narrowing it into 100,
Hmm.
it may not be like, you might have a photo in there that actually does show some hardship that you
Hmm.
went through.
Hmm.
And it's not all just the highs of life, because it it may be a photo that does bring back some memories of a difficult time,
Hmm.
but using it, and the benefit of being able to include something like that, is to show how you've overcome
Hmm.
or you've grown. And those photos are really good reminders, and they can give us a lot of hope when things can be tough.
Mm.
And yeah, so that could be something to think about
Yeah.
including in there. I've got a couple of those that I would
Yeah.
include.
It just comes to mind. A typical example could probably be um, if you're divorced, and that
Mm,
often. I mean, we had that question from listeners and from clients. I'm in my second marriage or whatever. What do I do with the photos from my first one?
yeah.
It's always a good question and a lot of thinking. And it's like it's part of life. You don't need to keep them all, but and obviously it's very individual, but it was part of that life.
Yeah.
So, and that might be something that you just mentioned. It might not have ended well, but um, yeah, it just belongs anyhow.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah, there could be. There's a range of those sort of
mm,
examples that
mm,
that may have been difficult in life, but
mm,
you could include something that
mm,
would just show that you have overcome, and
yes,
that can
yeah,
be a real source of hope and strength
mm,
for if you're going through something, yeah, difficult
mm,
again in the future.
yeah,
So, what about? I was thinking even something like a mentor, someone that has been really special to you.
mm-hmm,
That
mm-hmm,
could be something as a photo that it might have been someone that's really spoken into your life. Could be like a certain teacher at school,
mm-hmm,
or, yeah, someone that has, not necessarily maintained as a close relationship, but someone
yes,
that has had a real impact in your life.
yes, totally,
Hmm,
yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
What else would you include?
What else would I include? Possibly. something like a special meal that might be a family tradition. We've got one of those that, we've got a traditional Christmas meal. That doesn't go at all with Australian traditions, but it's something that, we keep doing, and it's an important tradition for us. And I don't know how many photos I've got of it, because every Christmas I take a photo.
Maybe just put one in your 100 photos.
Yeah. I choose one.
These 100 photos are special, every single one. So one good. Do they look the same every plate that you take, though?
Very similar.
Great.
Very similar.
That's cool.
And actually, just talking about that reminds me that we also had that special meal at our wedding, so it holds a lot of meaning.
Yes.
So, that's something else that I would definitely include.
Yeah, and it brings up all of the traditions and around that meal of what you do and what you say and who you're with, and taking time out. And so, it's the meaning behind these photos that we really want to capture when we're looking at which 100 photos you would choose to document your life, and to capture those. So, yeah, I love that. I would also include hobbies, passions, things that I like. As a kid, I did gymnastics.
Yeah.
And so that was a big part of my world.
Yes.
And the groups of people that I'd hang out with, and the camps that we did, gymnastics camps and all different kinds of stuff. And so that would definitely be, a part of my life that I don't do gymnastics anymore. But my daughter does, actually. But it's definitely a really fond part of my life as something that I was really into. Or even if someone's like a car enthusiast, or, they're really, horses is their thing, and they just love, a certain type, just a topic that they're really passionate about. And definitely would include that in your 100 photos to document your life.
For me, I guess that would be mostly traveling, where that is an issue, because I've been to so many different places, I can't possibly include them all. So I'd have to choose. But what comes to mind, for example, if you've listened to us for a while, you will know that I'm originally from Switzerland, and that we've moved to Australia in 2007. And I had travelled in Australia before, so obviously this country has a huge meaning for me. It's become my home, but I also, first learned about it as a tourist travelling, and I would know exactly which picture I would choose. Just one picture that was taken in the Kimberley, which just simply, that one picture represents everything about Australia for me.
Oh, wow.
And so it is possible, and I'm sure, when you dig a bit, you might find something like that. And it's interesting, actually, thinking about, these 200 photos, and it makes it so much clearer what is actually important to me, and what do I want to share and, remember.
Yep.
And it's very powerful. How can one simple and it would be a landscape picture, there's not even a person in it.
Yeah.
How can that carry so much meaning? But it can.
They can.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think I love this idea of choosing 100 photos to document your life, and just really thinking about narrowing it down. And one of the things that we thought as a bit of a sort of a next step takeaway from this awesome conversation, because I think we could probably keep going through. In fact, let's just have about a 5-hour block right now. We can just go get our photos and talk about every one of the 100. So, no, but what I would suggest is, if you're listening to this now and you're thinking, oh, oh, maybe I might try this
Mm.
100. Obviously, you've already got your goals, and we've got our 5 golden rules. You've got your why, and you're looking at all the different projects and things like that you might be working on and getting tips for.
Mm-hmm.
But this could be like a little mini project.
Mm-hmm.
It might just be something that if you're working on something else for yourself, or you're making your own photo hub, or you're doing something, maybe just keep this little,
Mm-hmm.
as a mini project in mind, to think about which 100 photos you
Mm.
might choose yourself to document your life. And I don't know, maybe have a keyword with them,
Mm.
and start collecting along the way and thinking about that.
Yeah, totally.
And one of the things that, Chantal, you and I were talking about just before we started to record was this could be something that you might even think, maybe 10 photos per decade or something,
Mm.
like you don't have to sort of chunk it down in that way. Initially when I was talking, I was looking at the relationships that are really important in my life and have been important in my life, and I might start there.
Mm-hmm.
But you might start from a childhood point of view and say, okay, I want to sort of get about 10 or 20 photos or something like
Mm.
that from that childhood collection, if you're lucky enough to have them. Some people
Yes.
don't, and we
Yeah.
respectful and understand different people's circumstances. So we're just saying that could be a suggestion. Maybe look at
Mm.
doing something like that.
Mm. Yeah, to break it down.
Mm.
Yeah. And we were also discussing, this can be obviously a gift for somebody,
Yep.
or you can regard that even as your legacy collection for yourself, or for, if you've got children, something that you want to pass on. Maybe you want to create a book with those photos. I think key is, though, to really add the stories, because as we just, as we went through that discussion just now, I think it's become clear that just a photo really is meaningless, because all that meaning that we put into that photo, or that it has for us, for another person, that's not visible. So we need to write it down, basically. And I think that's actually, if you reduce it to 100 photos, I think this is very feasible. It's
Yep.
not as overwhelming as, like, oh, I need to write my life story, and, panicking, oh, I can't read a book.
Yeah.
Or not write a book.
Right. Yep.
Write my biography. It's not about that. I think with that relatively small selection of photos, it is absolutely feasible to add at least some comments, if not a story, to it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. That's great. I love it. I really would encourage everyone to do that. I think it's something, or just to think about as you're going about your own projects, and whatever you're working on, particularly for your own photos, or you're just starting off in this journey
Mm-hmm.
of organizing your photos. This could be sort of a way to start. We have talked about in previous episodes, we've talked about, do you start from today moving forward when you're looking at organizing your photos? Do you look at the backlog of trying to organize everything from the past? There's a range of different ways. We've got lots of different episodes to give you some ideas and tips, and really step you through some of those things. So I'd encourage you to go back and have a look through the topics that we've already covered before and see what sort of suits you where you're at. But this could be another idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to jump in and feel like you've got some something that you can, get your teeth stuck into, and really make something achievable, and very meaningful. Yeah, a little mini project for you. Which 100 photos would you choose to document your life?
Yes. So why don't we start something? And on Facebook, you guys know we are on Facebook. If Fiona and I both share a photo that we would include in our 100, and also we'd share why That would be good, wouldn't it?
I love it. Let's do it. And we would encourage you to pop in your own photo as well. So, if you're listening to this podcast later on in, if there's others since then and you're hearing this, just do a search under 100 photos and we'll pop up there. We'll put that in the details on our Facebook post. So you can also add yours in, something that you would include in your 100, and we would love to hear about it.
Absolutely. Please share. We can't wait.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah. So that brings us to the end, right? Let's wrap it up. And,
Absolutely.
as always, we love to hear from you. Your questions, your reviews, your feedback. Always very welcome. Email us or contact us through the social media channels. And don't forget that we've got those courses on our website for the DIY people, and check out what we've got there and what is available. I'm Chantal from Photos in Order.
And I'm Fiona from Photo Helper. Thanks so much for tuning in, and happy photo organising and happy choosing your 100 photos.
Good luck.
Bye for now. Good luck, yeah. Bye.
Bye.